Shalom. Call halal Yahweh Bashem Shai Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth to be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners. And to the Akwath that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you with another lesson in truth. And this is a video in what they call in Kemet or Egypt of the biblical image of Joseph inside of a pyramid, all right, in Egypt. And they're going to use mirrors to shine sunlight through this opening down into the pyramid. See the guy, he's holding a mirror, and they're going to use mirrors to shine off another mirror onto the wall to show you the depiction of the people that were actually there during the time of the Exodus. So my question is, where does WASP come from? What is this white Anglo-Saxon people? Because we're going to show you an image of one of the original Anglo-Saxons, angelic sons of Isaac.
As you see, and everywhere here they showed the title of the museum. You see the blue circle up?
The circle with the dots in it.
Yeah, above it, you see the sign above it?
Okay, now what is that sign?
Yeah, this is Imiran, means the overseer of the city.
It's almost like you can draw a direct connection between these hieroglyphs on the wall and what's in this book.
Yeah.
Now that was Joseph, the overseer of the city. See, in the beginning, let's play
Joseph
it again.
Out of prison to interpret his dreams. Joseph declares that the dreams portend 7 years of abundance, followed by 7 years of famine. Joseph recommends that the Pharaoh preserve food from the time of abundance for use during the time of famine. The Pharaoh is so impressed by Joseph's plan that he places him in charge of his entire court, a role that is memorialized on the walls of royal tombs.
So there we go. So I wanted to give you that first portion of the dialogue before we get to they show you the images of Joseph on the royal tombs. All right. That's Joseph, the overseer. Okay. He's actually darker than the other two. Okay, and these are actual Egyptians, Hamites. So when we tell you that there's a difference between the Egyptian and the Israelite, there is. And you got to remember, Joseph, 11 brothers didn't recognize him. He recognized them. Why? Because he was dressed like an Egyptian and he had a bald face. And they hadn't seen him in what, 10 plus years or something like that. And you see him with the dressed like an Egyptian, with a complete bald face, and they just didn't recognize him. But this right here is an angelic son of Isaac. So So who are these people call themselves WASP? Who are these so-called royals in Britain? See, images and art tell a truth that the textbooks don't. Now that being said, I'm going to go back to here. Exterminate all brutes. Okay? And that was a particular one I was watching this guy here, giving his commentary. First of all, let me grab a scripture.
Learn in our own lives to build a better.
Let me kill the sound for a moment. And we're going to let him speak. Because one thing that Edom tries to do is he always tries to control the narrative, even when he tells the truth. And the number one brutes that are shown. Why this thing don't want to act up? There we go. They want to freeze. Being used and abused by these heathens is Jacob. They show you mainly Gad, and they show you the Northern Kingdom and the islands, and then they show you, of course, the transatlantic slave trade. All right, which started not in 1600s, but actually basically in 1492, when Cristobal Colon, who the world ignorantly refers to as Christopher Columbus, sailed with his five Moorish Jews. He brought Hebrew interpreters to the New World. And then you look at all the Hebrew relics that was found among these copper-colored, brown-fleshed, like Negro natives, as they were way back then, before they got raped, robbed, and lightened up by forced rape and murder. All right, and this Exterminate All Brutes is going to be on HBO Plus, and you're going to hear the Edomites say, let me pull up this scripture, that it's a hard watch, that it's a very hard watch for him, because it just shows you all this dark history and all these things. Well, that was done by he and his people. And if you think there is not going to be a recompense for these actions, for destroying the Lord's people and destroying the earth, this is Revelation 6:4. And it reads, and there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. And that great sword has been his weapon. You know, that book called Guns, Steel, and Germs. Those were the main things that Esau Edom used to destroy the population, even to this day, in the form of vaccinations and vaccines. All right, they still using chemical, germs, I should say. You got to be very careful with your wording. All right. So without any further ado,
experiences from when he was a child to current day now from Raoul Peck. He's the documentarian that made this documentary. He learned from an early age growing up in Haiti as an African-American boy.
And see, there you go. Even when telling the truth,
That life,
Esau Edom, as red as he is, and the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, quoting Genesis, the 25th chapter. All right, Esau Edom is red. There's no such thing as a white Anglo-Saxon person or a white anything. They're red. They're the red people that the Bible speaks of, and you can no longer hide behind that lie of whiteness. There is no such thing as white people. It's a made-up concept that came full fruition in 1681 in Virginia when they first put into law and put into any legal documents this new race of humanity referred to as white people. Prior to that, there was no such thing. All right, so black and white are made up social constructs for control. They're social constructs for control. All right. But let's see. I'm trying to find this scripture. It's one that's in the curses. Yeah, this is Deuteronomy 28:37, and it reads, "And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all the nations, whither Yahweh will lead thee." All right. 1 Kings 9:7. Then I will cut off Israel out of the land which I have given them, and the house which I have hallowed for my name will I cast out of my sight, and Israel shall, and the house means race. So he cast his people, his race, his people, his chosen out of his sight, and Israel shall be a proverb and a byword among all people. Byword is when you call by a name that is not yours. Negro, Latino, native, savage, nigger, brute,
wasn't equal for
black.
everyone. He made the I Am Not Your Negro in 2016 and was the Minister of Culture in 1996 to 1997. This Exterminate All Brutes is a accumulation of his life's work up to this point. After watching 3 of the 4 hours,
Emergency interruption. I just got some information that they may have that Richie from Boston may have been taken out. That it's looking like from the information that's being sent to me that they may have killed Richie from Boston, who I believe, and many other Israelites believe he was an Israelite, but he was bringing up too much damning and consuming information, damaging information to the cause, which is Esau Edom, just as I am now. So anyone who's speaking the truth, especially the men of the Lord, are going to be targets. But see, Richie wasn't calling on the right name. You know, he didn't have the proper covering. But that's just an announcement I wanted to make because that information is coming in on my phone as I shoot this video.
of this documentary, I'm here to answer the question for you guys. Is this documentary worth a watch? So when I first started watching this documentary, I was a bit concerned. Is this going to be a very one-sided political propaganda thing?
So basically, he's worried about it being one-sided because he doesn't want the true nature of his people to be exposed. That they're vagabonds, fugitives from justice. They're complete, total vagabonds, fugitives of justice who everything that they possess was gotten by rape, robbery, and murder. Point blank, period. Salakia. Gotta let him know I'm shooting a vid because he's trying to communicate this information about Richie to me. All right. Salakia. Is that scripture, vagabond? He's a fugitive and a vagabond. Right, this is Genesis 4. And I'm gonna start at verse 11. The point is in verse 12, but it says, actually I'm gonna start at verse 10 because he's a spiller of blood, the first murderer, the first liar, all that. And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which have opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand, which when thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength, and a fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. And Esau Edom, the red man, aka white man, is a fugitive from justice because he wants to try to come to some sort of conclusion as to where there's no punishment unto him and his people for all the things that he's received from the things that his forefathers have done that set him up in these positions of power to set up police departments and jails and judges and systems of financial oppression and suppression, you know, banks and loans and all these things. He doesn't want to acknowledge all the rape, robbery, murder, and wrongdoing that was done that enabled him to be able to do these things.
Which is a common concern for any documentary that I watch. Furthermore, I understand, as I'm sure most people do, that there's nothing as 100% objective view for humans. Humans are affected by...
So let's go to, real quickly, I'm going to play the trailer, but minus the sound, just so I don't get it hit with anything. You know... See, that was that red horse that took peace from the earth. Colonization, extermination. That has been their MO. All right? And then they used, these different factions, KKK, the Aryan, this Aryan boy. The true Aryans were Elam, so-called Indians of India. They had nothing to do with so-called white people. So he's showing you the persecution of what? The so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American, who are the children of the Lord, the children of Israel, the house of Israel. And that's what, and they're referring to us as brutes. Exterminate all brutes. So, I am looking forward to watching this documentary. I really am. And I got a couple books that I want to go into. Let me pause it right there. Proven. This is Christopher Columbus. And let me turn this light on, Baba Kasha. Christopher Columbus and the participation of the Jews in the Spanish and Portuguese discoveries, by Mayer K. Serling, the Jewish scholar who wrote this. And when you get to page 95, it says, and I wrote a lot of notes, this is my book, but it says, Indians and Israelites. As a matter of fact, I wrote on here 17 different sources that prove that fact. All right, and I'll just mention a couple of them. You got the Atlantic diasporas of the Jews, conversos and crypto Jews in the age of mercantilism from 1500 A.D. That's one book source. You got Esau Edom and Jury, C.F. Parker. You got the Arabs, Beltran Thomas, page 339. Saudi Arabia inhabitants were originally much darker. You got John Wesley Powell. He declares artifacts prior to Christopher Columbus not to be used if they were found before 1789. And the Backcrete stone. So all the information that basically proved that the natives were Israelites, he was trying to hide. You got William Beeston's. And these are different books and sources of information proving that Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are indeed Israelite. And who the Edomites are. All right. Let me see. An illegal principal encomendia was a benign agency for the Indian Hispanization. Page 18 in Delicasis' book, Andrew Hurley's translation of Delicasis. You have Rodin, Adair, Bradshaw, Mail, Sanders, Delicasis, Ezra, Simon Wiesenthal, The Cell of Hope. 17, this was my number 17, A View of the Hebrews, 1825 by Ethan Smith. Letter from Thomas Jefferson that mentioned to Lewis. He wrote a letter to Clark and Lewis, basically saying that these people were Israelites. So the evidence of who they are is just beyond, you can't get around it. But this is Luis de Torres. This is actually page 95 in the book that I'm reading. Luis de Torres, the first European who discovered the use of tobacco, was also the first person of Jewish stock who settled in Cuba. He won favor of the ruler of Cacu and received from him as represents not merely lands but also slaves, 5 adults and a child. The king and queen of Spain granted him a yearly allowance of 868,645 Maravides, I guess that was the currency back then, and he died in the newly discovered land. In Cuba, Hispaniola, and in other lands which he discovered, Columbus found natives who had caquis and their own language and traditions. To what race did these aboriginals of America belong? Several writers have asserted and have displayed much learning in attempting to prove that the Aborigines were descendants of Jews. enough said, man, because we could just read on and on and on. And the evidence of that is the fact that Christopher Columbus brought over 5 Hebrew interpreters, the Torres being one of them. All right? You can't get around this stuff, man. And how much Esau Edom hates you. All right? And his women too. This is I'm going to read a quick insert from this book, A Hidden Heroism. All right? Black Soldiers in America's Wars. Matter of fact, We Fought in All Your Wars by Robert B. Egerton. I bought that from this book from Barnes & Noble well over 10 years ago. But this is page 79. All right, and I'm going to start at the second paragraph on page 79. All right, just to speak on these Edomite women and how they hate you, and they were just as violent toward Jacob as the Edomite male. All right, this is race riots erupted as well in East St. Louis, Illinois during the summer of 1917 after an African American was rumored to have killed a white man. 3,000 white men hunted down, shot, beat, and burned blacks for 4 days without any interference from the police or National Guardsmen. White women joined in the killing, one of them slashing the throat of a black woman. Gangs of white women beat any black woman that they could lay their hands on. A black paraplegic was burned alive, and a 2-year-old black boy was shot, then thrown into a burning building. In response, some blacks fought back. Before a partial peace was restored, 8 whites were killed, 4 by bullets apparently aimed at blacks, and 100 blacks were shot or mangled and beaten to various degrees of helplessness, as a U.S. Senator later told an investigating committee. Race relations within many Southern training camps were tense, were tense as well. Insults were exchanged, fights sometimes occurred. African American soldiers were typically openly discriminated against, and nothing has changed. You just saw the Northern Kingdom, the brown-skinned Northern Kingdom guy was abused by the police, the second lieutenant, while in uniform, while complying. Nothing has changed. All right? In some camps, black soldiers lacked sanitary and bathing facilities and were housed in tents, whereas whites lived in comparative luxury in barracks. So nothing has changed, man. Everything in this society has been doctored up and geared toward the comfort of Esau Edom. Let me grab one more scripture and close. This was more about bringing out information. What was I looking for? Oh, yeah. Now I remember. Salakia. Because that was my professor sending me this information that I'm actually going to look into and use. This is Sirach 10 and 8. And it reads, because of unrighteous dealings and injuries and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. This is how they got a grip on the world, by the use of that sword and unrighteous dealings. There's one in Nahum that I want to. I think it's 3 and 1, if I'm not mistaken. Right. It says, this is Nahum 3 and 1. It says, woe to the bloody city, is all full of lies and robbery, and the prey departeth not. Because now they abuse us at will, and they abuse us also with contractual law. They abuse us with contractual law, and we're forced to never-ending payments and taxes. Call Halal Yahweh Ba'Shem Abishai Ba'Shem Rakak Badash Wa Abba Babal Shalom.